Good evening. I'd like to call Property Management Committee to order. First order of business, approval of minutes. I have a motion to that effect.
I'll move that we approve the minutes, Mr. Chair.
Got a motion?
Second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Second on the agenda, report on renovation of old judicial building.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. This is just kind of an update on the report on the renovation of the old judicial building. Basically, we had to sign a new contract with Mr. Preston. His time and funds had extinguished. Okay, so we had to sign a new contract for him to be kind of the representative, and we've asked him to, at this point, basically just to look at the cost of moving IT over to the old judicial building on levels 2 and 3, floor 2 and 3. So they're going to be working on numbers, and basically whenever they get those numbers, they'll get back in touch with us because from the time that we first started talking to them back in September, the price seemed to escalate quite a bit. So I'm not sure how firm those were in the very beginning, but so we've asked him to kind of firm some numbers up. We do know that IT needs to, they're on top of each other in here in the courthouse, and they need some room, but we don't know if they need 2 floors or 1.5 floors over in the old judicial building. So they're going to try to kind of re-look at that. Okay.
Okay.
Any questions on that? Okay.
I think we need to look into it, look forward a few years down the road for them.
For IT.
Yeah.
I totally agree. They really would like to be on the 5th and 4th floor instead of the 2nd, 3rd. And so we may go back and ask them to relook at that. Now, it's the 4th floor, the one that has the AC on it?
Fifth.
The 5th floor. Okay. So the 5th floor is kind of a partial floor. For if you remember touring it, that's where all the mechanical room is. So it takes up a lot of space on that 5th floor. But they would prefer to be up on the top floors because it's closer as far as their wireless and Wi-Fi and that type of stuff, and then antennas on a higher plane, I guess, instead of being with more concrete on top of them. So we'll come back with whatever recommendation Mr. Preston and whatever architect. Bell Construction did say that they were not interested in doing anything on that building.
Brian just walked in the door.
Right. Okay.
Okay, any more questions on the old judicial building with IT? Okay, next on the agenda, new site location for county clerk's office, Plan C.
Okay, this is Plan C. Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, as you know, I'm not sure when that was, maybe December meeting, Commissioner Dodd asked us to possibly look at the Lane Agra location as far as building a facility for our clerk's office. And of course, we wanted to look also at combining the clerk's office with the state of Tennessee's safety DMV office, because they're overcrowded, and they've been looking as well. So if we could bind the two, and as all of you got, I'm sure, phone calls from everyone on Lane Agra, we decided to go to Plan B. Plan B was over. Mr. Spurlock knew the problems that we were having on Lane Agra, on John Rice. He offered Plan B at the side of Blackman Elementary School. I actually went out and looked early in the morning at the stacking problem that was occurring in front of where the parents would actually park in the morning, dropping off their kids, park actually on Fortress, actually on Fortress, and they stack out on Fortress as they're picking up their kids as well. And so we were down talking with the Mayor McFarland and Craig Tindall, the city manager of Smyrna, and they offered up to us Plan C. Plan C is a piece of property that they currently own. They have a tower on it, and they're willing to lease us the corner lot. And I've asked Michael to come tonight, and if you can see it, so this would be on the corner of Fortress and Blaze.
And it is highlighted here.
Okay.
And I'll zoom into the area.
That little road right there goes up to their tower. They have a radio tower there.
It's a 300-foot tall communication tower.
Just go back over, Michael, to the left here. The city of Murfreesboro is going to be building their new fire hall.
Yes. Right in this area.
Right there, closest to the ball field. So that's going to be their newest Blackman Fire Department. And so then we came back, and so that opened up the whole corner here for us on Blaze and Fortress to build our building. Ms. Krause here, she needs 5,000 square feet, I believe, with 2 drive-through windows. It'll be the same situation as down in Smyrna, to where Ted Beatty would like to have a window, if you will, inside at the desk, inside of Ms. Krause's office. So he would be out there also to collect property taxes in that Blackman area. And then the Department of Safety for the DMV, and talking to the new commissioner of the Department of Safety, and previous commissioner, they after the change last month, the new commissioner picked up from the old commissioner, and they said that they both agree they need 8,500 square feet for the new DMV. There is also the city of Murfreesboro proposed to us that we go in jointly on a new satellite line ball library on this same track that will be adjacent to that. Line ball, of course, we're 50-50 on line ball library with the city, and they're wanting to move the libraries out into communities as opposed to having the main branch down here. They're wanting to go into a Blackman, a Las Casas, etc., and building smaller libraries for better access to the communities. So this track seems to be the best location I've been able to find at this point.
All that'll fit?
I'm sorry?
All that'll fit?
Yeah, all that'll fit with the parking. Michael's looked at it and actually
Yeah.
sent a rendering to the city of Murfreesboro. I think they had a couple of tweaks, but they seem to like his preliminary design.
Is that a tall hill, high hill, or what do you want to say?
That is a 300-foot tower
That's a
right
tower.
there. It is a little bit of a hill.
Yeah, a little bit
I
of
knew
a
that
rise.
the towers are usually put on hills. That's what I was saying.
You can see the topo
These are
up
the
there.
contour lines,
Yeah, it's
yes.
a little bit higher than what it is down at the corner where we would be building. But when Michael was putting this together, he actually made sure that all the buildings, even the library, would clear in the event of a storm. And even though the tower is wind rated, I'm sure.
Well, actually, it is not designed to fall on itself, but that's why we moved
You
everything else.
moved it to where
In
it's
case it did
outside of the fall
Yes,
zone
yes, sir.
for the height of the tower. It wouldn't fall onto any of these buildings.
Will it have entrance from Fortress and Blaze?
Yes, sir. The last page in your book, thank you, Mayor and Chairman McAdoo, Commissioners. The property, I should say, is like the Mayor said, right at the corner of Blaze and Fortress. This is the high school here, middle school to the south, and originally where we looked in the southeast corner was the elementary school, and this is the northwest corner of Blaze and Fortress. It does have water and sewer to the site. It is a little bit steeper than the grade on it than the elementary school site, but it's not nothing dramatic or anything like that. It's about 3 or 4%, maybe a little bit steeper in places, but it's not that dramatic. Like the mayor said, they are building the new fire hall in this location here. They are, as part of that project, they're going to extend sewer down and up over here to serve the fire hall, and we will be able to tie on to that sewer extension here. There is water all around. There's 12-inch on the south. There's a 36-inch over here, so we most likely tie to this side or whatever. The fire hall is bringing, I think, an 8-inch line across here, so we could tie onto that. There is a little bit of floodplain, but it's easily managed along the northern edge of the property. Just a little bit in this area, but as long as we stay at least a foot above that, we'll be okay. It'll be downstream of this Fortress bridge here, so it's flowing to the north. Puckett Creek is flowing to the north west, so it shouldn't be a problem with our site here. If you look at the last page, we did a little concept plan like the mayor was talking about. I'll have to zoom in because it's kind of light. This is the existing driveway to the communication tower. Yes, ma'am?
Turn the light out.
Oh,
You can see it
okay.
better.
Okay, yes, ma'am. So this is the existing driveway. Fire hall, station 11 for the city will be here in this green. What we're proposing to do is use this existing drive and line up our internal access aisles with the fire hall on this side going in, but also have a new entrance off of Fortress over here. We could put the county clerk's building here, state trooper building here, the library in this location, and we've got room to grow, a little bit for the state trooper office here and then the county office here, and then also an expansion area for the city library. We've got long queue lanes for the drive-throughs on the end of the county clerk's building. And then also what we've done, positioning the buildings kind of like in this L shape, we've got a location for secure parking for the state trooper office and employees back here. So we could gate this off and fence it and keep this as a secure area back here. We've got more than enough parking in this area, and then also we've got adequate landscaping and large islands for parking lots to kind of soften the look of it. This is not an actual, this is just a concept plan, a master plan, just something to throw out there. Once we get actual architectural designs, we can move ahead with an actual design. But this is just kind of what we envision to see all of this on this corner.
That end piece, front building at the end, you said that could be future expansion.
It could be, like I
But
said-
can it be for county too? Or is
Well,
specified
yes,
as to be
it
for-
would be whatever the
Okay.
county signs up in the lease. So, I mean, there are all kinds of options. This was more or less just an exercise to say all this will fit right in this location. But like I said, the city's building sewer all the way over here to serve the new fire hall, so we'll be able to tie into that at any location along here. They are bringing water across the street, so there's fire hydrants and water line across the street, so we've got everything we need right here. We will need to do a little fill in this one location. We don't have to build it at the same time as the city, but we could plan for it all together. We could do one stormwater detention area down here in this low area to solve, to serve all the parking in the buildings additions to offset that. So it's a real flexible area. Whoops, sorry about that.
This is city land.
This is city land, yes, ma'am. And there's a little bit of circle dashed line. Douglas talked with somebody at the police office, and they said since they had such a large tract of land, they didn't design the tower to collapse on itself like they do in some areas where they're a little bit tighter. So if this were to fall, we kept everything outside of that fall radius. And likewise, the fire hall's down here as well. So,
Where would the traffic go to get to the drive-through?
well, you could come off of Fortress, come around, and then come back this long queue lane here.
Okay.
I think we get like 38 or 40 cars. It'll be a double queue lane plus a little bypass. If somebody gets frustrated, they can get out of line and come around, get tired of waiting, and then come in here and park. But we have, like I said, we've got adequate parking for the public, secure parking in the back for employees and state trooper vehicles and whatnot.
And is there an entrance?
And there'll be
to
an
the
entrance,
house?
they'll use this existing entrance on Blaze Drive here, this private road right here. The city's planning on using this and building right here. So this will be one entrance, we'll have another one over here, and then we can build in this large expanse right here.
What about on the, if you go back to?
This is Puckett Creek, and this is in the flood zone, so I wouldn't envision, this is a substantial bridge here, so I wouldn't envision anything going across here. And then if we pan a little bit to the north, I think it's already developed or mostly developed, so I don't see the need to extend anything across the way. So, but we should have adequate, well, there is more land, but it's in the flood zone, floodway.
But would there also be an entrance if you're going up to the tower?
Well,
Right.
we'll keep this open, this will stay open, and we'll bring a road. Right now, our little concept plan is showing a little road coming back here that we can hook and come back to the queue lanes for the county clerk's office in this area right
Do
here.
you know how many parking spaces offhand, or is
Yes,
you got
sir.
that far?
Down in this corner, I'm sorry, it's probably a little hard to read your copy. We have a total provided 308 spaces, 293 regular, 15 handicap. Inside the secure area, we have close to 194 spaces, open to the public over 200. So we've got required for everything, all the square footages, counting the expansions, we'll need 190. So we've got about a little over 100 extra. And Lisa can attest that she probably needs them.
Yeah, well, the reason I ask is at one time I was stationed at one of the DMVs as an officer, and parking was our worst issue.
And I think that's one of the reasons the state's looking to move, is that they're hemmed in to where their spot is off the old Samsonite Boulevard.
This will be the licensing
The DMV
Department
that's
where
currently
Take a teenager to get their
teams
right,
and
yeah.
then gun permits and everybody comes here.
Yeah, basically, they're out there on the end of Middle Tennessee Boulevard, that dead end, and Commissioner Gammon, they got 50 spaces out front, and they go around the back where the THP is supposed to park, and there's a path worn around the building in the grass where they have to walk around, so it's very limited on parking. They're on a 30-day lease, month to month, where they're currently at, so, it'd take us a while to build this facility, but from Plan A to Plan B to Plan C, I was looking for free property. Because everything that we looked at that Ms. Crowell was asking for, since September, we've been scouring that whole area, and everything we looked at was $1.5 million to $2 million, just to buy enough to build her building. Whereas, so if we can buy that, rent this, get a 99-year lease from the city for $1, it's free property in essence, except for the $1, and then we build the building to accommodate the DMV and Department of Safety and the Highway Patrol. They pay us reasonable per square foot rent. That basically kind of puts us in a building fairly cheap.
And we rent to a third party on land we don't own. It's the city's land. Can we be in a lease agreement with the state on city property?
They don't have a problem with that.
We would own the building.
No, but
We own the
please,
building,
please
yeah,
check
but-
that.
yeah.
We need, I would like a legal
Sure.
opinion on
Yeah,
that.
we can get, but we were with Craig Tyndall when they brought this up, and of course, he was their city attorney, now's their city manager, when they suggested this to us, and he didn't see a problem with it, but we can get that in writing, I'm sure. Of course, I'll need direction from this committee to move forward and start negotiating with the new Commissioner of Safety, as far as doing an MOU of sort. So,
What is an MOU?
a memorandum of understanding that we're going to move forward.
And hopefully we can do that tonight.
This is the current state location, so they're pretty much built out. And they can expand this way. There's a big power line easement, and then also wetlands behind them, so they're kind of hemmed in to where they could go.
Do they plan to move their whole operation there or just a second?
That's what I understand.
No, they're done with that facility.
Done with
They're leasing it.
Yeah.
busy though?
Any more questions?
You're talking about a desire for this to leave this committee
Tonight, so he
to
can,
move forward.
so he can move forward with negotiation with the state and all the parties involved, so we can get some information brought back to us in writing.
Informational,
Right,
because
right.
we're certainly not prepared to
No, I'm not
no.
asking for that.
build a
All
building.
we're doing is giving him the okay.
I just want to get the commitment with Commissioner of Safety, and that might take 30, 40 days. I mean, he's state of the state's Monday night, and it's going to take some while to go through this process, working with the state, pull everything together. We get the commitment, because I don't want to move forward with an architect, start drawing plans, and they say, no, we don't like that, we're going to stay where we're at, so I need a memorandum of understanding that if we start moving forward, you're going to be okay with leasing this long-term,
And then we'll have a chance to consider
Oh, yeah.
design.
Design
We've not
deal.
funded
Yes.
design
Yeah,
yet. We haven't
exactly.
funded.
Yes.
We're not approving.
No, we're not approving, just for him to go and negotiate with the state.
Yeah, this
With
is-
the license, Tennessee license removing their whole operation there, it's gonna be, I guess, a busy little corner. Is there any kind of a traffic study that could let us know what that's gonna look like?
We have looked at the traffic in the school bells. This is a school zone each way, so in the mornings it does move, but it does queue up for the parents dropping the kids off in the morning. But it's clear by 8:15, 8:30, something like that, maybe a little bit after.
But I'm talking about then throughout the day.
Oh, throughout the day, yes.
As far as
That'll
what-
be part of the development process. I would imagine do a traffic study.
Some kind. And are they open on Saturdays?
No, DMV is not.
DMV,
Lisa's
at
not.
least it won't be open on Saturdays.
The Department of Safety is still basically on board with this?
Yes, sir.
regardless of what-
The last email I got from the Commissioner of Safety, new Commissioner of Safety, who was the sheriff in Williamson County after the appointment of the governor, he's still on board, and he said, just let us know when you all are ready to move forward. We're ready to move with you.
I know, with this being in my district, I know that's a question that's gonna come up, is what would the traffic look like? So if we can get some kind of information on that.
7:30 to 8:15, probably 2:30 till 3:15.
Those
It's gonna be
the
too
bell
congested.
times, yes, sir.
Any question on Saturdays? I know January, tax season, they call it. They may open 1 or 2 Saturdays. You'll have folks that get their taxes back when they can afford to get their license
Do
reinstated.
you do that in Smyrna, Lisa?
You do reinstatements?
I think that's just.
The offices are not open on Saturdays.
Okay.
Okay.
At the state, or you're talking about
I'm
Lisa's
talking about the
office?
state. I'm
The
talking about the
state?
state, doing reinstatement. I don't know if they do reinstatements, that's what I was wondering.
Oh,
But
okay.
it's only like 2 Saturdays.
That's, yeah, that's,
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's,
Okay.
And just one last question, is it far enough west for to meet your needs? You know what I'm saying? Are
It is.
you're good with?
Okay,
I've been told that on the other side of the interstate, it's almost like it's one of the fastest growing cities in the entire state. on the other side of the interstate. So there's almost 40,000 residents on that side of the interstate, and it's still growing.
That's the only place that can grow.
Yeah, that's true.
So everybody understand that, we will need a motion tonight, give the mayor our okay, that he can go ahead and start negotiating with the state and get some type of, commitment from them, and then bring it back to us.
I'll make that motion, Mr. Chairman.
Got a motion? What?
Second.
Got a second? Any other discussion?
I have one question.
Okay.
The library, can you comment, we're gonna build, if we, later, if we pass the building, everything's agreed, the library, city's building the library though.
Well, that hasn't been negotiated at this point. It was just talked about, so we would like to build that out there. We talked to Mrs. Shacklett, who's over the Linebaugh Library, and she would like to have a small space out there. I think she wanted more than what the city wanted her to have, but, you know, they would like to have a community library out there, but that would not
You
come.
wouldn't be funding it.
That we're not, well, we're 50-50 on the
Right.
Linebaugh Library,
Gotcha.
but that's not in this building project. We're basically looking at one building, you know, to house Ms. Crowell and DMV. That's what we'll do, and try to work with the city's architect to try to keep it in where it doesn't stick out like a sore thumb as far as the architectural design of the new fire hall, you know, to where that whole lot would look compatible with each other. And then we'd have to come back to this committee and decide, okay, what direction do you want to go? You want to go to PBA? You want to go design build? You know, without the PBA, that's, you know, so.
Any more questions? If not, all those in favor of this, let me know by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you.
Even the doors.
Okay, parking study update. Steve, you wanna come up here too? Go ahead. Lisa, you wanna join us up here?
Don't leave.
Basically, the night I presented this, Jerry Preston presented this to the PBA, and it's $9,460 that will come out of the ending fund balance of the new judicial building to do a parking study for 319, the parking garage, the judicial building itself, the health building behind that, and then the streets surrounding it. So actually, that's in the process. This is information to you to send forth for the commission, but it's in the works. The company name is KCI that's been hired. This is their specialty in doing the traffic studies. There's not a whole lot of folks out there that do a lot of traffic studies in this type format, but they'll come back with us with a game plan and where the traffic, what our issues are.
Lisa has also been working on this issue, and she has a proposal based on security in this area. And the reason I asked her up there, she can give us an oversight of what she's looking at. And then between the study and the oversight, maybe a complete package will be brought back to this committee concerning the parking situation over there. Lisa?
Yes, I've reached out to a private company, and they would want to contract and let me back up. I've reached out to get information only so that I could give you all information and the mayor about my thought process. And it's been brought to my attention that people think that having a security or not necessarily security, an officer in our parking lot to help people understand that that parking lot isn't for judicial center use, it's for use at 319 North Maple Street. So, I, at the building all the time, realize that we need someone there from about 7:30 in the morning to about 11:30 in the morning. That's when the huge congestion is normally happening. There, occasionally in the evenings it'll be congested, but you can understand that some. But in the morning times, Monday through Friday, it's bad. It's bad. I used examples last month. Again, I can use more examples this month, but I don't think that's necessary, about how long it takes for somebody to find a parking place to come in and take care of their business at 319 North Maple. So I've reached out to a private company, and I shied away from that because at a minimum they're wanting a 6-month contract. Well, with this study happening, and I don't know what will happen with the study, I don't feel like that would be a good suggestion to ask to put it under a 6-month contract. So I've talked with the sheriff's department, and what they do with off-duty officers is they go through a different company, and it's like with working with the Board of Education or with the road superintendent. When they need off-duty officers, it would be the same situation with our parking lot. Just to help during this time until a study came back, because, you know, each month it's just, and I understand it takes a while, but in the same time, it's not helping anybody that needs to come into 319 North Maple Street or those that work there. So, I have money in my part-time line item that could help do this with it for a month or so until the study would come back, and see what their suggestion would be. So that's what I've been working on. That's some information that I've got, and that's it.
Any questions, Lisa?
You said attendant or a security? You need security or someone? You need someone?
I need someone to help with guidance.
Okay.
I mean, it would be an off-duty police officer. I like the idea of guidance. Plus, you know, having a presence of some security there also helps us.
The only reason I asked that, if you had a parking lot attendant, it would, hourly rate for that company would be less. If a private security company hires a police officer, they're going to pay that police officer like $35 an hour.
On the average, it's 37. And
Then you
but
get an attendant. If you're not really wanting security, if you want an attendant, it would be half of that.
right, but that would obligate me to a contract. That's the reason I shied away from that. If we were,
There's a big difference between security, because they have to be licensed through the state Commerce and Insurance. If you have an attendant, you know, that's why the rate's a little lower.
But pending the study, this might be a off-duty officer might be temporary. And
totally.
then after the study, you might think, okay, now we can go to a contract.
Right.
Right.
I think that's something we need to look at, that we can do, if she can work it out with the sheriff department. That's something we can do right now while we're doing this study. You know,
We just need a dollar amount, I guess, to send a budget, and how many
I have it
people.
in
she
my
got
line
it,
item.
she can handle it.
I already have it. Talking with the sheriff's department, depending on how fast it can be handled, they could have someone start March the 1st. I mean, March 4th. But I know it has to go through, but they're prepared to help us. They understand the situation.
Do we need to go through budget with that? She's a field officer, she can move on her own on that. That's what I'm thinking now, I could be wrong.
Lisa, you said you had money in your budget. Okay, so it just be a line item transfer.
No, it wouldn't even be a transfer.
It would? Okay.
They would
She
be
got the
paid,
money.
they would be paid directly from finance, from my line item, and it would go back and paid on their regular paycheck. No
Why
contract.
can't we go forward then? Why can't we go forward on that?
That's the reason we're here tonight. We're looking at the one forward.
I don't think she needs us to go for it.
No, she doesn't, she really doesn't need us to go forward. She's a fee officer, but budget meets next week or whenever, and we can go ahead and run this through budget so everybody would know what's going on or be aware of, because some commissioners may pass by and see sheriff department with people over there, and then they're gonna wonder what is people doing over there and so on and so forth. So we could do that if I could entertain a motion to send it on the budget.
Steve,
We'll
you
move
just
on.
need a motion to move forward with your request, correct?
Yes, sir.
And that this will go to the budget.
Oh, yeah,
We-
Steve
next
part
Thursday.
will go through budget.
Budget, what meets me on Thursday,
Next week, yes, ma'am.
so it puts her a week behind. She-
No, ours is fine. It's already running, but it's just a formality. And then hers, whatever she wants to do about the security would go through her budget.
No.
Oh, okay, go through your budget. In other words, you can start Monday if you wanted to.
She could, she has a salary agreement already in place that allows her.
That's what, I was trying to get it as fast as possible. That's what I was
So it's
thinking.
temporary, it'd be like 90 days.
They just said until I could give them a few days' notice to stop.
Can I get a motion to that effect?
So move, this would just be moving out of ending fund balance into a line item to do this, correct? Your statement, correct?
This will actually come out of the Indian fund balance of the,
Of the new judicial well and parking garage.
yeah, because we still have some monies over there, and that would come out of that through the PBA and hiring these folks to get it done.
I'm
Exactly.
Motion and a second.
What are we moving? Steve's issue or?
I would
This is
like
just a
to,
parking study here first.
I would like to move the parking study first, if we come back, move Lisa.
Okay.
All right,
I need a second.
did I get a second on that?
Mr. Gooch.
Any more questions? Call the roll.
Commissioner Cook?
Yes.
Commissioner Dodd?
Yes.
Commissioner Gammon?
Yes.
Commissioner Gooch?
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner McAdoo?
All right, thank you. Now we got, sit down, we got to do yours, we sit to yours too. Now, we heard that Lisa is trying to come up with a temporary fix until we get the study done and all that. And she agreed to, out of her part-time help, try to negotiate with the sheriff department and maybe off-duty officer working out there. So I think we need to move it on the budget also. So do I have a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Second.
Got a second? Commissioner Cook, second. Any discussion on it? There's no extra money on anybody's part, but we do need to send it forward. Call roll.
Commissioner Cook?
Yes.
Commissioner Dodd?
Yes.
Commissioner Gammon? Commissioner Gooch?
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner McAdoo?
Yes. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
So you can probably start this Monday.
You want me to take it before budget first?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Okay. And then maybe the week after that?
Okay. Update on archives building, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir. We met out there week before last with the architect, Klein Sweeney. They're in the process of designing that. Thank you, sir. I think they have all the information together. They have a Scheme A, okay? First floor and second floor that's been passed out to you. We were actually trying to ask them to try to design that to where they could, if you'll see there in the white, the existing building, which is the barn that belongs to Mr. Mankin. That's kind of a utility shed that his guys built to put his mowers and et cetera in. So we were trying not to make him knock that down. And I think that they came up with a pretty good scheme here to look at. As far as their design is concerned. So this is just for information purposes only. You can, Michael, if you want to share that with them about the setback, about how far back will they come next to that property line?
About, they're showing to be 20 feet off the back property line, so right there's how far they'll stop. They'll come up and then kind of looks like it's turning a little bit. General archive, and they've got another law enforcement storage in the yellow or orange or whatever color you call that in this area. They'll have to, looks like they'll have to move the trash enclosure to the other side over here.
Ben was okay with that.
I think so.
Yeah.
As long as he has his place to put trash, I'm sure he's fine. Might lose his few spots, but I mean, it's
They were trying to save costs, so they were I think there's an area for a loading dock they can back in. Right now, they're having to use a hand hoist, but they want to put in a kind of like a freight elevator to load all the files for storage onto that inside the building and then take it to the second floor, as opposed to having to build an expensive elevator, enclosed elevator bank. So it would be kind of a freight elevator, if you will.
Okay, well,
So this is basically, without any questions, if you got any for Michael or Mr. DeMasi.
What's all this area in the middle?
That's the existing building.
So this is,
That's just grass, and the green, the white is the existing structure. I guess what did you call that, mauve or reddish? It would be the general archives part, and then the law enforcement in the yellow, orange, gold, whatever it is.
The office wasn't part of our previous conversations. Office renovation, that's just something that's come up.
right.
New office, renovation space. Just had not heard of that term before.
The 160 square feet, that's what you referenced?
Yes, sir.
Well, I was unaware of that myself.
160 square feet, can you explain who put it in there?
In green.
Yeah.
I'm sure we can update ourselves on that.
Okay, because I don't know who added it.
160 square feet.
So we didn't talk about that when I did the walkthrough with the architect. We didn't talk about redoing their office.
Okay, we'll just have that conversation when we come back.
Is these
tomorrow.
16
I'm sorry.
Is these, with this join, these two buildings right here,
No, ma'am.
they look,
No, ma'am.
okay.
If you'll look right there,
KSA.
where you at? Can you show them where Ben's barn's at?
Right here, with the white top.
Okay.
This is the dumpster that they'll have to move, probably over here.
Okay.
And then the
So-
building addition will come in. This is a bird's eye view here. This is,
So that white top building, it's got a concrete pad, a metal skin on wood, so it's basically, he got in there fairly cheap. It's just a utility shed.
yes, sir. Keep equipment dry.
Yeah, just to keep his equipment out of it. So it won't, Commissioner Cook, it won't adjoin those buildings.
No, here's a little bit of a close-up. You can
Do they
see.
need to?
No, no, I think based on this design, it's gonna be
Yeah.
two-story. They feel like that'll get us 20 years down the road. We'll be able to empty out and save the money we're spending in Laverne for the storage of the sheriff's, and the trailer at the existing sheriff's office over on 99. So we'll remove all of those, and also Melissa Harrell has boxes, court records upstairs on the third floor of the new judicial building will be transferred into this building as well.
We're paying a pretty steep rental in Laverne.
In Laverne, every time that one of the detectives or officers request a file that's stored in Laverne, there's a charge to retrieve it, there's a charge to deliver it, and a charge to refile it.
It's about $600 a month.
$600 a month what we're paying.
Plus your
You gotta
distance
keep it for
travel and
99
so
years.
forth.
Well, yeah, we didn't take into consideration the time of the officer going to the wear and tear and the gas. Right?
It takes me an hour to get up here and
Well, yeah,
back.
with traffic, you're exactly right. So this is just FYI, so if everybody's good with this scheme, then we'll go back to Client Suite and tell them to go ahead and start working on numbers to come back to you with appropriate numbers to move forward.
Any other questions? I don't think we need no motion for this.
No, sir.
Just move on a minute. Okay, next on the agenda, house on Florence Road.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman, the house on Florence Road, many of you know that it's where I came in. There was a purchase of, what do we got, 20 acres on Singer?
It's a little bit under that, yeah.
A little bit under Singer Road, Mac. Is that about right? And we have 2 brick structures that are located out there. And I got a call back in probably October. There's a gentleman that lives somewhere between Rockville and Eagleville that would like to purchase one of the current structures that's on there. Of course, they'll have to pay to move it. He doesn't want to tear it down. He wants to jack it up and have it moved to a site that he has on his property in between Rockville and Eagleville. And so he wanted to go out and look at it. Mac, did you? I think it went through Ben.
Okay.
Oh, there you are. Yes, sir.
Open the door for us.
Okay, I'm sorry. I didn't.
In the house.
I've got that you were back here. Okay. Okay, so
I wasn't aware anybody looked. I was across the street from it today, so I went over there and measured it. It's 104 feet long,
okay.
including the garage, 30 feet wide.
Sure. So what we've done, what the county's done in the past, you know, we had I think Vicki shared with me, we had a double wide last year that became excess property or surplus property, and so we had to put out a legal notice and run it in the paper, and then we would take bids for a specific period of time, be turned in, and let anybody turn their bids in. So, you know, don't know what the property's worth. We'll just take the highest bid.
Do we need to make a motion to put that out to bid?
Yes.
So moved.
Do I have a second on it?
Second.
Okay, everybody know what we're talking about though. Okay. Any more questions? If not,
May I ask a question?
Yes, sir.
Mayor made a comment about putting it up for bids. Will this be a sealed bid? Would it be a auction type? What,
I think the way that, of course I wasn't here, but it's a sealed bid the way they
double
did
wide
it.
was going with a sealed bid.
well, there's a website I reference quite often, which is called Gov Deals.
Uh-huh.
I know the city of Murfreesboro puts things on there. They have a part on that website where you list all the, and they have buildings on there. And on occasion, you'll see trailers, school facilities, miscellaneous. At that point right there, it's everyone's saying it's the best bidder wins it. So if you do sealed bids, if I stand up there on Friday morning and it closes at 10, nobody comes in, I put $1. So something to think about.
That's a good point.
We don't have.
My motion was intended to be follow county law or policy. So
Yeah.
if I need to clarify that, Becky,
Well,
if the policy is to put it
Sounds
on
like,
a
sounds like,
website or.
well, I'm not sure what our policy is.
what we did and what we done in the past, some of you know, we had an inventory control gentleman. And what he would do, he would come forward to us in purchasing, and we would take bids on it and whatnot, and all of them would be brought back to purchasing. They would have a date and a time that they have to get all these bids in, and then it's up to purchasing to look at these bids, and purchasing will say yay or nay. So it's just not a bid come in and out, it's gone. But purchasing was the key, and that's the way we've done it in the past. So I imagine we'll follow the same protocol as we've done in the past.
He would have,
All the
declared this
information.
surplus.
Right.
Surplus. Right. And then we would vote yes, and then he put on the deals.
Right, that's right. So it will come for our purchasing committee.
So would he need to bring that forward, or inventory?
I think once we declare it surplus property, we would turn it over to that department. I don't think he's with us no more.
I'm lost. I don't know what department or who we're talking about, but.
Inventory control used to work under Lisa, under finance. He would go out and access property or whatnot. He would get it all on a spreadsheet and bring
I
it
can
to
jump
us.
on that, Mr. Chairman, and follow that through.
Okay,
Your
no
procedure
problem.
that you did on the mobile home.
Right,
Do it
same
the same
procedure,
process.
same procedure.
I can-
If you could jump on that, Steve.
It's same procedure.
Well, this procedure last year was just, it was sealed bid and bids had to be in by certain times. It was running the paper for so many days and then it was sealed bid and it would come to purchasing and we would open those sealed bids.
Yeah, that's right, same.
What he's talking about the city's doing is more kind of up to date, more electronically.
Online.
Well, we
I
did,
think the sheriff's department does that.
yeah, the inventory control
on their
guy that we
cars
had,
and stuff.
Do they?
he used to put it out, put it out there.
Deals.com.
He used to put it out there on gov.deal.
Vehicles and equipment are usually
Right.
on gov deals.
Right.
Property usually not.
What?
If you look at their website, though, you'll see that they put school chairs, lockers, they do buildings, helicopters, airplanes, classic cars.
We do
They, and it's a website. That's kind of how I make my living these days, is I try to buy and sell some of this stuff, and I'm on it pretty regular. And it's what everybody's going to, usually auctions, you know. So.
I was just informed, Deputy Mayor told me that Vicki just texted him and we do gov.deals.
Deal, okay.
We do it online.
Yep.
So we can do
That's what I
that.
thought, but his last name was Brown. He was over inventory control, and he was the one that, Robert Brown was the one that was
So
set
if
it
that's
up.
okay, we'll follow that same
So my
procedure.
motion puts this into the
Right,
appropriate
Sure.
government
Been following
sale.
yeah,
county
right,
policy.
right.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
Any more questions? If not, all those in favor? Okay, motion passed. Okay, next on the agenda is Rockville Convenience Center, referred from Public Works meeting on 2/5/2019.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, the Public Works Committee met and sent this to the Property Management Committee. Commissioner Rather moved, this was on the February 5th Public Works meeting, moved, seconded by Commissioner Piercy, that Public Works Committee approves moving the Rockville Convenience Center across the road, leaving the historic building in place, and forward this issue to the Property Management Committee, get the blessing on the location, and it passed unanimously. You're getting a copy being passed out to you. As you start to look at this, it would be my recommendation that the old store is located, and I know that was a lot of contention a little over a year ago on this piece of property, but it would be my recommendation to the committee that we declare this or donate this to the Rockville Historical Society, the building.
Okay, the new ones on the committee, are you familiar with what we're talking about?
I see what we're looking at there. So it would be donate as is where is?
Yes.
Yes. And we just build the convenience center around that,
The store,
the store.
existing store. Mac, you want Mac to come up?
Mac,
here?
you'd like to come up?
Join us?
What the mayor's referred to, I think, is the building itself will be donated, but not the property.
Correct. Just the building.
Yeah. and the deed on that piece of property says if something ever happens to that store where it's burned or blown down or whatever, you cannot build it back right there. Part of the reason I wanted to bring this forward is, of course, this was the original location we was going to do as a convenience center, got moved to Leanna. We did bids for the equipment, and those bids are good for 1 year, which expires April the 4th. So the prices have gone way up. So if we're going to go through with this, I'd need to come through Public Works Tuesday night and then budget Thursday night with an amendment for the money to order those containers off of this current bid, which it would take a while for them to come in, but we could go ahead and get them less expensive.
And then trying to do my due diligence on bringing this, making the recommendation and talking to Chief Farley, the fire department building across where the existing convenience center is, he tells me that the bays are not large enough to handle the equipment anymore to put the size of trucks that we now own. So basically, the building's not doing us any good. And then the complaints that we were getting about the stacking on the weekends.
Out in the street.
Mac, you want to talk about that, of the problems of people lining up on the street, creating a real hazard of people trying to go down the road, but they come around the curve and they were all of a sudden there's traffic trying to dump their garbage back down in the street for a long period.
Okay. You see to the right there is the existing center. If you remember, quite some time back, we had an accident at one of the centers where one of our center attendants got crushed between two vehicles, which we had to change the way we do some stuff. So the way you enter that center is that uppermost entrance, and you come in, and what the residents have been doing in the past for many years, that's the same situation that thing's been for a long time, is they pull past it, pull out, back up, and there could be as many as 5 vehicles backing in there at one time, which is not a good safety thing, but as far as I know, nobody ever got hurt. But our process now is one person at a time. So that creates a problem to where they're backed up Rockville Road back toward town, and they're backed up on this side, and even on Versailles Road blocking traffic. If we don't do anything across the street, then the intention would be to come up the driveway going to the fire department, put an entrance gate in the back fence, and bring the vehicles in next to the compactor there and get back out. Nothing else would really change in the center, but it would give space to get some of those cars off the street. Between the time if we're going to go across the street, we may put that gate in anyway, just to help relieve some of that. The Walk Trail Fire Department changed their fencing 2 years ago, and we went down there and helped them with that and hauled some stuff off, and we kept those gates. Those actual gates are a little over $2,000 a piece just for the gate, so we've already got the gate. We just have to get somebody to put in the post and the rollers and hang the gate back there. But that would give us a little relief until we do something.
So, based on this map, Mac, if we were to donate this to the Historical Society, it looks like that we would come in here with an entrance, but this would be, would put in a parking area for them, for that building? Right here, is that correct?
Right.
Okay, so it'd be, we put the parking in there for the store and let them restore that. And the flow would come in this direction or this direction?
On this plan, it's showing it's coming in the opposite direction, but the flow would need to come in where you were pointing.
Down
right
here.
there, yeah. Go in right there.
Flow would come in this way.
Right, and then you're coming out further away from the store, so your visibility would be better.
Okay.
How many parking spaces are we looking at?
2. 2 and a handicap is what's drawn. 3 technically.
Anybody got any questions? Back in the mayor.
On here it says row abandoned.
Right away, abandoned.
That's a right of way.
When this used to be the old state highway, it's like 100 feet wide in here. We've talked to Greg Brooks at the Highway Department, we can reclaim some of this land up front here to make more usable space. They don't need a 100-foot right-of-way out front here. The only need is 25 from the center line on each side.
And a lot of that space would actually get used for buffer.
And so part of the little stores in the right of way also?
Yes, sir.
And that would just be left the way it is?
Yes, sir.
In the back,
What will happen to the building over there that the fire department been using? What's the plans for all that?
stay for fire department use, my assumption, I don't know.
Be up to Farley.
We may surplus that too, because we're working with Mr. Thompson. He's willing to donate a piece of property on the other side of Rockville town, coming off of
269.
269. He's willing to donate the property for us to build a new ambulance and a joint building between the ambulance and fire department. You know, all cohabitating in the same building on that piece of property. And we might need to call him this week since his daughter's playing in the tournament. He's pretty generous right now.
And another thing to consider is we're wanting to have a restroom at the center. So we've looked at some different options. One option could possibly be to get permission to take the sewer line across the street and tie into the existing system at the old fire department building. The other one would be basically just dig a pit and put a tank in and have to do a pump and haul type situation.
They have a little drip on the other side.
Yes,
Fire department has a.
Yes,
It's
they have
that's
an
an
old system. Yes, sir.
It's an old system.
Right. You'd have the tank on the new site, and then just a force main with a pump and the tank, sending it back over to the septic system over on the other side.
Could the store hook into that?
I guess if
Don't-
we
I
gave
guess.
them permission to,
I'm not sure we'll get all the permissions to do that, but if we do that, then we don't need to surplus the property or why not
It's
not able to
kind
say
of
anything.
at your own risk, connected to an older system, the county.
Sure.
So if it fails, we're back to square one.
I see.
You know, so we kind of,
I wouldn't want to offer it to the store
Yeah,
until we know that it's a workable system.
sure. Understood.
I think this is the property that Mr. Thompson owns is offering up. In this area.
Oh, it's a storage unit across the street. They're on Wondro.
Well, okay. I think Larry Farley had told me back over here.
Okay.
Fire hall and.
Yeah, but that-
Ambulance station. Yes, sir, they own this one and
That's his
this
existing,
one.
his storage unit.
No, you're back there. Tell them where's that?
Too.
It's that property right there. You're
This one
back.
with the hand on it?
Mhm.
Yeah, he owns
That's
both,
the
or the
difference.
family does, owns both of these properties. And
You get that one rezoned.
yeah, he did have it zoned, was it commercial services or something? Yeah.
Okay. Any more questions? If not, I've got questions from the audience. I would like to entertain a motion before I open it up to the audience of what we want to do with this store. Do we want to go ahead and donate it to the Rockville Historical Society? What is the committee thinking on that?
You could sell it for $1, get something out of it.
All right, put it in the form of a motion.
No, I wouldn't.
Do I hear a motion to,
Well, I move that we donate it to the Martinville Historical Society.
have a motion, do I have a second on it?
Second.
Got a second. Now I'm gonna turn it over and let the ones that are here that represent that area or live in that area, if they got some information they wanna present, I think he was first, then you second, and I hear from all of you.
2 minutes.
We hear from all of you.
Get out that watch.
Name and address.
I want to apologize to this committee, because if it wasn't for me, we wouldn't even have that property across the street that we've argued on all the time.
I know that's right. I was sitting there when it happened.
We settled a lawsuit that somebody had sued us.
I know that's
And we got
right.
that. I know
that 3 of you are on there at the time when we did that, and I want to commend Mayor Ketron for bringing something forward that doesn't move the stone. Now, and I've got some things that I know we all agree on. I mean, this thing across the road is going to be a big issue. Talked to Mac today. He's got a plan in place to alleviate, as he was talking about, moving around and doing that. I would like to see it delayed, and to look at other options of buying some other land and everything. But the biggest thing that we have going on, we have never had a community meeting to discuss all this and let the community get its input in it. Last time this came up a year ago, you directed us to have one. We've not had one. There's a lot of people that are not happy, but I mean, Lascass has had one, Leanna had one. We can't get one.
Why not?
Well, you have to ask Commissioner Reed. He refused to.
Wait, what are you talking about? I mean, I thought we
About
had-
talking this whole thing about.
Is that what's on our agenda at the moment?
Yeah.
I thought we were talking about the house.
No.
We're talking about approving this tonight. Well, all the motion on the table is, do we give them the house?
Well,
No, the store. Give them the store.
It's an old store.
It's an old store.
I'm saying.
well, I'm talking about the store.
That's what he talking
That's
about,
what
the
I'm
old
talking
store.
about.
I know, but is the motion on the table to give the Historical Society of Rockville the store?
Yeah,
Correct.
And my comment was, thank you for doing that.
And are we now moved on to talk about, is the convenience center going to be there or not?
No, nothing involved.
I've not got
Public hearing is about the store
You're right.
in your community, is that correct?
That's right.
You're right.
What I'm saying is,
I want
thank
to
you
get
for
out of line.
about the store, when we have the limited thing, and you just say the store, is that some store and some property to go with the parking and those things? I mean, the president of the group is out here. That's not me. I'm just one that's apologizing for having this problem brought up to you to begin with. But is it possible to deed the store and some property to that? Because in doing that, yes it is, but that's a different debate. But the store and some parking spaces to go with that makes that all work. And is it possible for us to have a community meeting, either from Mr. Sandlin or the mayor, to have something set up so everybody can have some input into it rather than having to piecemeal it together up here? So that's all I got. My 2 minutes is up. Thank you.
2 minutes is up. I don't know anything about no community meeting. I wouldn't even want to get involved in it.
I think we should leave the community meeting.
Yeah, y'all can do whatever you want to with these meetings, but if you don't want to know what I think personally, you really don't. But we've given you the store. We've been over backwards in this area with changing plans, giving away, moving money, and we've done everything possible to keep this convenience center open. We have, and I commend the committee for doing that. I commend the mayor. And I commend the planning for, we've been in old backwards trying to work and make this work where they can keep that store. And I think what was presented tonight was a good plan, as far as I'm concerned. As far as giving away land and stuff, we can't hardly do it looking at the way you got it. He presented to us, unless back know something I don't know.
Well,
I
we
think
are
Doug
doing
would.
some parking spots.
It would give them
I think
parking
Doug could
spots.
better answer this, but if you start trying to deed off a little small tract, we don't allow
It
that.
won't meet zoning requirements for
Okay.
on-site.
All right, so that, as far as I'm concerned, that answers that.
And the way I understood it, we'd give them the store, but we wouldn't give them the land, but we'd give them a little bit of easement there for parking.
Two parking and handicap parking.
Now, that's the way I understood it.
That's the way I understand it.
So, and that's what I'm voting on.
Is that right? Let's go over it again. It's gonna be the store,
It's gonna be the building.
the building, 2 parking spaces, and a handicap parking space, correct?
That's correct.
That's correct?
Yes, sir.
That's what I'm sticking with.
We're building the parking spots. We're not giving that
No,
area
right.
to. Now, my motion is to donate the store, but I guess I would like to hear someone from the Historical Society to say, yes, we
think
do
they're
want
here.
this. Can we have
Yeah,
somebody?
he's here.
Mr. Chairman.
I was
Your
talking.
name and address, please?
My name is Travis Brown. I live at 806 Arizona Road, Eagleville, Tennessee.
Thank you.
Former mayor. Well,
Yep.
I appreciate the opportunity to speak tonight. I was always taught never look a gift horse in the mouth, but I will ask if there's any way we can look at this parking situation. We do have plans if we do get this building. I really appreciate the offer of the gift and stuff like that, but we want to have events there and where we could have more than 2 people attend it, and 2 parking spots is just very, we'll have to be parking on the street or across the street or somewhere else because there's just not a lot you can do with 2 parking spots. We want to use this for some community-based events and stuff like that. There's just there's a lot of things. I appreciate your generous offer. I'm just saying, from a matter of fact, what we're looking on. When we do get this up and open, we want to be able to have some different things going on there, where some senior-based events and things like that, where we can have some people that attend that and go in that building. I'm not saying an exorbitant amount of spots, but I'm saying more than 2 would be appreciated.
What's it zoned for? What's it zoned as?
I believe it's
Commercial. Does it meet fire? Does it have restrooms?
The building as it currently?
Does it have a
From the
restroom?
conversations we had with Ms. Bill, I don't believe so.
That wouldn't need to be brought up to code.
Running water,
We all have to be sold.
running water restrooms would be added.
But they don't.
Could it,
It's
I don't know how
purpose-
you can have events, if it doesn't have a restroom or and so forth. I just
yeah.
want to make sure you know what you're getting.
Yes.
If it can't have events there, then don't be planning events. Can it have events there?
It would be, have to go through
You would
zoning
have
and
to, I mean, it
codes.
has, like Mike was just saying, when you get into that situation, it becomes a different part of the building code. It's an assembly occupancy, which has different requirements than if it were just a house or a business or something like that. Now, I'm not a building code person, so I can't get into the detail about that, but if they wanted to have something like that, then yes, they would have to bring it up to code, but then there's the whole issue with the zoning as well about what they would have to go through for something like that. They couldn't just fix it up and start having events.
Just want to make sure you understand that you're not hamstrung in the future or there's something unanticipated. Some people say there's restrooms in it. Does it have a septic tank?
It had a pump system before.
To where?
They've taken it out, but it had a pump system. It's always had a bathroom
where?
in it and a kitchenette. It was one that they came and pumped out regularly, on a regular
I
basis at
see.
the pump system.
Is that allowed by code?
Well, there has to be, there's hoops to jump through in those situations.
It's not y'all's answer, so.
Right, yeah, they have to, a lot of the times when it comes to like a pump and haul situation, there has to be documented that there are no soil sites on the property, that there's no other way to do it. And then they can look into it at that point, but again, those, I think just more hurdles that you have to jump through to get this on that kind of situation.
Okay.
And I just want to make sure that y'all get wanted as far as a donation to you.
Yeah, well,
So
yes,
you do, that's-
we do want it. We've put together a group. We've had a lot of generous offers of help. We've been just waiting for a couple years now, trying to work all the details out. I mean, the back part of the building is exposed to the weather right now. There's some things that need to be done. We're waiting so we can go ahead and start getting this building secured and getting it dried in and trying to save as much as possible of it. It's a kind of a rarity, especially in Rutherford County, that there's just a very few commercial buildings that are not public owned on the historic register, and that's one of them. I mean, I'm just public owned, but I'm saying that, like a courthouse or something like that. There's just a very few. Most of the buildings on the historic register are either like a courthouse or like a personal dwelling. So it's a very oddity there, and we want to try and save it. Look at it as a very good, savable project from a historic preservation standpoint because of the size and scope of it. It's a very small building compared to a lot of them, so it's very doable, and we'd like to bring it back to have an example of what an old historic store used to be like in the day.
I'm gonna let the mayor talk to us. He came up with a good plan just in looking at the drawing, something that may help you out in parking when you have events.
In talking with Mike, I don't know, Michael, on this row abandonment. I don't know if that is too close to put parking in there, but once we come up with a plan, it's a possibility. Otherwise, we can look at that. Once we have a plan, we could also allow them to park over in the existing the convenience center and walk across. And so they'd have ample space for some type of gathering there as well, you know, for additional parking. Okay.
This, Mayor, but the zoning ordinance does make provision for off-site parking like that. I'd have to verify through the ordinance, just the procedure for it, if there is possible.
And you're trying to restore it, and this is, we're going to have meetings, but it's going to be kind of a museum, right? Yeah. Okay. Going to fall into a different type of categories of museum. And I think the attempt by the community is to actually, because the old telephone site was located next door, you got the Masonic Lodge across the street, so that they'd like to kind of restore the whole old downtown area for preservation, historical preservation for the community.
Absolutely, yes.
This may be a thorn in the side of that conversation, but I would be cautious about.
That we're
I would
parking
really
there.
think
Sure.
I would like to see a really significant landscape feature to block the usage, and if we
Well, I
park
think-
there, we may lose what could be a really attractive screen.
Sure.
Just a
Well, I think going back to what they said earlier, if we get across the street parking, could that be something where we would hope that we would hope that that would be something where the county had a long-term effort, because we talked about surplus in that a minute ago, that property across the street, you know, so.
Well, I think we have the same design idea of, on this location, we want to do the same thing because Leanna was our test case, and we're going to make it where all other convenient facilities across the county are going to look like that. We're going to spend, what, $400,000. We'll put in nice brown plastic fence with heavy landscaping and concrete. It won't be gravel. We'll have blacktop, so it's going to be a nice addition to the community when you put that kind of money into it. So it'll be an enhancement for the whole community. We want it to look good and smell good as well.
And I think the parking across the street would take care of those things.
It would. I just, you know, I'd like to see that there be some, something that said, you know, that the next year we don't decide to surplus the whole property across the street and our parking's gone, is what I'm kind of getting at. Because, you know, because I heard a minute ago in the discussion we all were having that you were talking about if you don't want to move it across the street, build this new, very nice convenience center, that this old property where we're talking about parking at might be gone.
I'm thinking if we're looking at maybe holding parking in that area, I don't think we would give it away overnight.
I would be opposed to disposing of that.
Yeah,
That property.
yeah.
Personally,
So, yeah.
And hold on to it if we want to septic system.
There's all kind of reasons to hold that.
Yeah.
And one thing has been suggested, and I've heard before from people in the community, I don't live in the Rockville, I live in Eagle, but I have a lot of roots in the Rockville community. There might be a use for that property. It's kind of like a park and ride where people are commuting, because more and more people are carpooling every day. But, you know, that front part of the property that you're not using for anything else might be a suitable use for that, and just keeping a parking lot there. So that's just kind of a suggestion there.
I don't see it going anywhere.
Thank you.
Anybody else want to discuss the historic store building? If not, call the meeting back in session here, and let's read the motion to us.
Move to donate the historic store to the Rockville Historical Society.
Everyone understand that motion? All right. Call for the question. All those in favor of this?
Start moving on this.
Let's have a roll call. We'll forget these ayes and nays. Roll call.
Commissioner Cook? Yes. Commissioner Dodd?
Yes.
Commissioner Gammon?
Yes.
Commissioner Gooch?
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner McAdoo?
Yes. Okay. Next on the agenda is Milton Ballpark. I think I saw.
I got that.
You going to Milton?
Yeah, I'm going to Milton now. I saw the commissioner from Milton area up here. You want to come up here and join us?
All over here, Steve.
Yeah.
All right, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, I received a letter from the state of Tennessee. I think this has been going on for a long time.
Long
Steve.
time.
Long
About
time.
at least a year.
Yeah, or two. This came from Mrs. Taylor. She's with the Department of General Services. Basically, it's commonly known as the Milton Ballpark. They're going to be donating it to Rutherford County to the Milton Community Center. Is that? I guess it would be to us.
It's coming directly to Rutherford County.
Come directly to us. The only thing that we have to pay is a $500 management fee. It's a real estate, a REAM, real estate management fee for the transaction. So that's the only amount.
One-time fee?
One-time fee, yes, sir. Now, it does say that it would be better to have a meets and bounds legal description, so there are not any issues about the exact location of the property. And of course, that's going to cost us some money above the $500 fee. And I reached out to Michael.
We don't have an RLS. We need a registered land surveyor to do the meets and bounds description.
Okay. So that would be an additional fee to make sure that what we're getting is accurate.
Does it transfer with the warranty deed? Does it, do we?
That would be
a warranty deed or?
No, that you need a title research for that. But I mean, it's an old deed that goes back. This is the state's owned for
It's
forever.
about and then a transfer document to the state.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, it was actually donated in 1820.
I doubt we'll find a warranty.
No, they can't find it.
Correct one
Yeah, we'll
with the
correct
legal
it.
description and.
Yeah, we'll have to.
I'm all for it. Steve, you're for this.
We were here about, I know a year ago, pretty close to a year ago, with a different mayor, and we went through the process, and they sent the paperwork to Nashville, and then people in Nashville that handled this left the job, somebody else took the job, the ball was dropped. That's the reason it's so far down the line today. The information has been sent back now. They're in agreement to let the county have it, donate it to the county. Of course, we've got to pay the fee like the mayor just told you. And then, of course, we'll need a legal description, and that's going to cost us too. When this first come up, the community just fell all to pieces. They thought we was going to put a convenience center on it, thought we was going to have a dollar store in the middle of it, you know, just everything they could think of. But it was not. All that was just fictitious information. This needs to be deeded back to the county. Let us maybe maintain it once a month, every 2 months, you know, just bush hog it down and let the community use it as a green space. And never have nothing built on it whatsoever.
We need to get that in writing.
Yes. It needs to just be continued a green space for community use. And be done. That's very possible. There's part of an old ballpark there now. It could possibly be used for a youth practice park in the future or whatever. You know, when they find out who owns it and who can let them do whatever with it. But the community needs it. And it doesn't need a store on it. It doesn't need 3 houses on it. It needs to stay with the community.
And what kind of motion are we looking for this?
To accept this and pay the $500 fee and to do the meets and bounds legal description.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Second that.
Motion and second. So the $500 fee is going to be paid by the county and not by the community.
That's correct.
Okay.
To the state.
So we're going
To
to
the state.
absorb all the costs of this project, which doesn't seem to be a big cost. Any questions? If not, call the roll.
Is this going to budget committee?
Yeah, we have to send it to budget.
Y'all get the budget.
500 involved.
Commissioner Cook?
Yes.
Commissioner Dodd?
Yes.
Commissioner Gammon?
Yes.
Commissioner Gooch?
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner McAdoo?
When do we discuss the deed restrictions to define it as a park and so forth? That's a future
It's
conversation.
got to be future.
After it's got some deed.
Yeah, it's got to be future.
We really need to protect it if that's the wishes.
Ladies and gentlemen of the Milton community, thank you.
Yeah, under any other business, I think Commissioner Gannon wanted to discuss something.
Yeah, I don't know if this is in other communities. I just wanted to see if maybe Deputy Mayor or someone could look into it. I had some calls in Laverne about the Goodwill trailers at the convenience center in Laverne. I made a phone call and was told that Goodwill removed them.
I had one removed in my...
Got a lot of folks asking me about it, and they're throwing their, they're taking clothes and putting them in. Maybe Art can come in, or maybe you can help us. I thought you were gone.
Goodwill called us and said that they wanted to remove their trailers from there. So that what we do is allow them permission to be there. We used to have one at Rock Crusher Center. They built the store just inside of town, so they removed those trailers. You're 100% right. It's probably 1.25 miles from our center at Rock Crusher to the new Goodwill store. They won't drive to it. If they get there to get rid of it, they're going to get rid of it while they're there. So that's what's happening at Laverne. As far as clothing, we've got a company that will take care of clothing, put in those bins, and come keep those empty. But as far as furniture and that type of stuff, no, we don't have anybody that wants to do
So
that.
they're already out there then? Is that clothing, or they're going to put that out there? Okay.
And the reason we didn't have them there before was because Goodwill was already there.
Yeah, I visited our local senior citizen.
Okay. All right, then. Any other business? Matt?
We voted, or y'all voted, not we, to donate the store, but never actually gave me permission to build the center.
Oh, I thought you had that a year ago.
Well, we did, and then it got moved, so I'd like to.
You'd like to get,
I'd like to get
it
official.
updated.
Yes.
And that won't be right now, that'll be in next year's budget.
Yeah.
But he just needs to start
Okay,
preparing for
you
that.
want to get it updated
come
since we took care of the store.
And apply for the grants.
I thought we approved the site, I'm sorry.
Your actual motion was to give away the store.
No, not tonight. I thought 2 months, I thought a month ago. I mean, I read the minutes and it wasn't in last month, but
My
you presented your drawing to us, is all you've done. is that
Right.
That's
Yes.
it.
But we never actually
We had
got.
this discussion a year ago.
I started saying a year ago.
A year ago. But then we got caught up on the store issue, and we just moved the whole project to Louisiana. And so now what he's asking that we update this project back in Rockville and get it back on the table so he can move forward.
So moved.
Second.
Are you
All-
going to discuss that? Are you going to have any kind of public input? Like people who own property adjacent?
We will, as soon as I get this motion, I'll do it just like I did the other motion. But at first, I got to do the motion.
All right.
Okay. I got a motion to this effect to go ahead and proceed on with this project of the convenience center. I got a second. I'm gonna open it up just like I did before on the store. If anybody want to discuss it, I have any input?
It'll be next year before we do that.
Everybody have any input? I'm ready for it.
I'd like to ask one question because I'm Kevin Swartz. My wife's family owns the property all around this property.
What's your address?
My address is 1425 Bradbury Drive in Northwest Murfreesboro. So I guess my issue with this is, and I understand how the county came to own this property, but the zoning on this property, and maybe, I'm sure you can change the zoning, just like I heard that the store can't operate because you can't ask for a variance for, the septic or whatever, but the zoning on this property, to my knowledge, isn't zoned for a convenience center. It's zoned commercial.
I can ask
It's zoned- Yes, it's zoned commercially, which does allow for the convenience centers to be.
So that's just by right?
Yes.
That because when the property was in the lawsuit with John Dolan,
Yes.
the first point of that says right there that the reason that the property was not approved was, number one, says the applicant does not meet the requirements, blah, 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 for the zoning resolution. The property or use, it's not zoned for that. It's commercial you can have, and commercial zoning, my understanding is, that you can have it. If you can have a convenience center, you can have a recycling center.
Recycling
Correct?
center, no, not entirely. Now, let me clarify just a couple of things. When that zoning application by Mr. Dolan came before the Planning Commission and Board of Commissioners back in 2007, I believe is when that was, we were under a whole different zoning resolution at that time. Since that time, we were under a brand-new zoning ordinance. I say brand new. We adopted it effective January 1 of 2013. When we adopted that ordinance, this property was actually zoned as it is right now, commercial neighborhood. Recycling centers, what Mr. Dolan was talking about doing was not, that particular use would not be allowed in the zone because it was more heavier material, heavy-duty type recycling, actual center where he was going to be doing some of the work. This is really more of a convenience center. This is classified differently than what Mr. Dolan was trying to do. But again, we're under a completely different zoning structure now than we were back at that time. So the use, we've already vetted that, the use of a convenience center is permitted by right in the commercial neighborhood zone, which is what this property is zoned currently.
Okay.
Was it zoned as such previously?
I don't believe so. Now, you'll have to forgive me, it's been several years, so I don't remember exactly, but, I mean, he's correct. As far as the zoning at the time it was concerned, that rezoning was denied. And then that's when the
For that
lawsuit
recycle,
happened.
okay.
Right.
But it was zoned commercial back then, but not for this recycling.
Well, it was, they really didn't have a zoning per se. I think they left it zone residential, but you remember under the old zoning structure that we had,
Yeah, everything.
there was no, even if it was zone commercial, there were no permitted uses within the district. Everything was conditional use permits. We've moved away from that. And now we have a zoning system where things are zoned by right, or you have uses by right rather, or by what's called special exception, like a special use permit to the Board of Zoning Appeals, or it's just not permitted. But in this situation, again, convenience centers, government-owned convenience centers, we have a line item specifically in the zoning ordinance that calls that out, and that is a permitted use in that zone.
So essentially, if you own the land completely around that, it's just a zoning by right, and you don't have any right to say anything about whether or not the right meets,
Well, the ordinance dictates what can and can't be done. So in that sense, yes. Now, there are things like buffering requirements, screening, those kind of things that this will have to meet as well.
Right.
So it's subject to the same provisions.
And I guess it doesn't look like from the drawing, now I didn't get a drawing because I just am a neighbor, okay? But if you look at the drawing, it doesn't look like there's any buffering there
Well, and understand.
whatsoever.
That's
That's
conceptual.
what it looks like to me.
That's a
So-
conceptual plan. That's not an approved design.
Okay, and I don't know when that
That's just-
happens, because as an adjacent property owner, I only know that I want to know what's going on, and if the zoning doesn't have to be changed, then I'm not notified. So, thank you. My 2 minutes are up. Appreciate it.
Okay. Any other questions concerning?
The mayor kind of questioned, we've got the bid where we can order the containers at a much cheaper price today than we can after April 4th. So I'll need to do a budget amendment, come through Public Works next week, and to actually get the money to order those containers. There'll be a while before they come in. So we've got time to continue to discuss this. Deputy Mayor Sandlin was asking about grant money. We get a recycle rebate grant every year from the state, and we share that with the city of Murfreesboro. And they were planning on doing some stuff with theirs, and they were told like 2 weeks ago that they can't spend it that way. So we wind up getting their part of that grant, which is $24,000. It's a 50% match, so we'll have to spend $48,000 to get their 24. But the recycle container part of this convenience center, that money can be applied to, not the trash part, but the recycle part. So that's kind of what we're planning on doing. So it's not truly the grant like the grant we have at Leanna, but it's some money.
So will you bring it back to us, or will you just
What I-
move forward with it? Or?
Well, what I plan on doing is, now that we have permission that, yes, we can do this, now I'll go to Public Works Tuesday night, ask for a budget amendment so we can order the containers. If they say yes, then we can go forward. If they say no, then, and then everything else on this side would be next year's budget.
Okay. Do all members understand? We have a motion and a second. Call the roll.
Read the motion, please.
Approve construction of the Rockville Convenience Center as presented.
I'm sorry, Chairman, I have to.
Oh, that's fine.
I think to Mr. Schwartz's comment, the motion is to approve this as presented, but this design has not been finalized, nor has the accoutrements. So the motion is to move forward with the first steps to create design and get input from the community?
So we can apply for the grant.
Okay.
It will still have to go through the planning commission for approval.
Yeah, we've got to go through all the permitting and all kinds of stuff.
And so-
It'll take a while.
So these folks can watch this or participate in this moving through the planning commission?
Yes,
The
I mean,
site
they
goes
can-
through the planning commission, then the buildings go through planning,
Building codes.
so there's opportunities to
But
witness.
I mean, when we get an official site plan submittal,
Yeah.
I mean, it's public record. So if somebody wants to come and sit down and look at it, I mean, that's.
My understanding, I thought that adjacent property owners would be notified.
And they have not been.
Not for.
Not right now, but they will be.
Not for like a site plan that's a use by right, or like a
Okay.
subdivision, like a residential
not a
subdivision.
rezoning.
It's
Yeah,
not
it's not a
rezoning.
rezoning, so there
Okay.
wouldn't be.
Okay.
This is basically the concept, correct?
It would be tweaked some, but it's the basic idea.
I mean, just looking at it, I can tell, I mean, I'm sure Mike can just by looking at it, I mean, it's gonna happen. There are
Yeah.
things on there that's gonna
Storm,
happen.
water control, and all that stuff.
Circulation. Buffering, I mean, there's some of those dry problems in those, I mean, we'll have to.
Still got that sewage concept we
Yeah.
talked about earlier.
Right, and
Okay.
yeah, and Mr. Chairman, I apologize, Ms. Allen just brought up a good point that this will be considered at a public meeting, the
Okay.
planning commission. Now, it's not a public hearing, so someone could. be
But it
here.
will-
They would have to, yes, they would have to.
At the
suspend
public meeting, it will be on the agenda.
It would be on an agenda for someone.
And anybody in that area, anybody in the county, or whoever want to come to this public meeting will be able to come.
They could come to the
and
meeting.
have input.
Well, it's not a public hearing like a rezoning.
Okay.
But I guess that's the point we're trying
Okay,
to
it's
make.
not like a rezoning,
That's correct, it's not
But-
like a rezoning.
but for public knowledge. it will.
Yes.
Okay.
Could I ask one more question?
Yes, sir.
If it's not a rezoning, I guess the rezoning occurred sometime between the time John Dolan sued the county and now? Is that what you're saying? That changed in 2013?
Right,
Is that what
when
you're telling me?
when we adopted the new ordinance in effective January 1 of 2013, we also adopted a new zoning map that went along with it. So they were adopted both at the same time, which went through the proper process as far as public hearings and everything. So yes, that's correct.
Okay. Any other discussion? Call the roll.
They're all.
Commissioner Cook?
Yes.
Commissioner Dodd?
Yes.
Commissioner Hammond?
Yes.
Commissioner Gooch?
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner McAfee?
Okay, I'd just like to make one comment. I would like to thank the planning commission, and I would like to thank the mayor for having all this information for us tonight available.
Yes.
And I think they done the one,
Mike was the
oh,
man.
yes.
Thanks.
Yeah, I know definitely him, but I would like to thank you. The mayor got one statement.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. One last thing is you're hearing or not hearing because the air conditioning system, we did find out this past week that the air unit is directly behind Commissioner Dodd. So we've talked to those folks because of the complaints of not being able to hear. Even IT says that when those things kick on, even these mics, it's hard for people who are actually watching on TV to hear. So they're coming in next week. I've signed a work order for them to come in, and they're going to put in a second return, and they're going to baffle some of the air ducts, try to control the fan speed. So we'll be able to hear. So it should be much improved. I don't know why that never was done to begin with. I've been putting up with it for all these years, but we're going to correct it. Because I'm deaf in this ear and I sure can't hear.
We'll be hollering in the other.
Yes, sir. I'm good. Thank you.
Any other business? No. Clear the meeting adjourned.
Bill,